everyone. Welcome to art class. My name is Allison GHouse. I'm so excited to be here with you today to share some things that I know about painting with watercolor paints. Okay, if you want to paint along with me, you're going to want a round brush. I like the Princeton snap brush, but you can pick any brush that has a round tip. Other ones I've used before, this is a Royal Langnickel one. This is nice too. This has a round tip. I am using watercolor paper today, and this is just the Hobby Lobby brand watercolor paper. But any craft store will have watercolor paper. You don't need the most expensive, but it is nice to have something that is a watercolor paper. And let's see, watercolor paper, paintbrushes. I've got a cup of water, paper towels. I am using my set of watercolor paints today. This is my personal set, and these come in tubes. Something's under there. The tubes are Marie's brand, but you can use any kind of tubes. We just got some new ones from Amazon for the middle school students. We've set up these for my middle school students, and they are the Royal Langnickel brand, and they were inexpensive, but they're really good quality tubes. And so what I do is I squeeze the tube in here and then I let it dry, and it's awesome. But if you don't have that and you want to use the Crayola Education watercolors, this is my second favorite set, second to my personal set, but I love these also. So I have got watercolor paper, paintbrushes, paints, cup of watercolor, and we're going to paint today. We're going to be working on some fall wreaths. I love fall. It might be my favorite season. And I love to paint fall and seasonal artwork. And this weekend I was playing around with some different watercolor wreaths, and I think I'm going to just kind of mess around with this today, and if you want to paint along with me, you can. Let's get started. So I'm going to start, by talking a little bit about mixing colors. So to get these awesome fall jewel tones, I mixed colors because these colors are not straight out of my tray. And when you're thinking about making some nice fall jewel tones, you're going to want to consider your color wheel. If I wanted to make, let's see, I want to take this yellow and make it a little more brown. So I'm going to take some of this yellow, and I'm actually going to mix it with its complementary color. And if you're looking at the color wheel, yellow's complement is violet or purple. If you're looking at the color wheel, orange's complement, if you're using orange and you want to make it a little more like a jewel tone, its complement is blue. So you would mix in a little blue. If you want to change the red a little bit, you'd put in a little green. So we're just going to try a few different things to see what happens here. So I've got my yellow. I'm putting a little yellow in my mixing area. And then I'm going to rinse my brush. And I'm going to take just a little bit of purple, not a lot. And I'm going to mix it in there. And it gives you a little bit more of a fall yellow and less of a bright yellow. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, that's nice. Let's try it with orange. So again, I can take this orange, or I can do this more of a vermilion. This is more of a red orange. Take that, put it in my mixing area. And then I'm going to try maybe this darker blue and just take a little touch of that and mix that in, and that makes for a really nice fall orange. And all of these colors, if I mix them like this will become a nice palette for my wreath. So I'm working here. Now let's try this red. And again, the complement of red is green. So there's the red. And I think I'm going to go with this middle green here. Yeah, I like that too. Oh, that looks so nice. That's a nice like fall palette. Definitely like these two. I'm not sure if I'm convinced on that yellow yet, but I could try this more of an ochre yellow. Let's see what that does. Remember, its complement is still purple. Oh, that seems to make more sense now with those. Those look really good. I like that a whole lot. And then the other one that I did on here was this pink. This is like a red-violet color. And you can make a choice on this because there's some red and there's some violet in this color. So then you're saying, do I put green with that or do I put yellow with that? You kind of have to make a decision. This one wants me to say, if I do red-violet, we're looking more at the yellow-green. So maybe this color with it. Let's see what happens. And if you just cut yourself a little piece and play around with it, you can come up with all kinds of new colors. This is pretty fun. Oh yeah, I love that. I love those 4 colors. I'm going to use those in my wreath. And then I might also use just some this straight green. That looks like a good fall palette there. And I could mix some other colors in there too. You know, it's art. You can do whatever you want. All right, so there's my mixed colors. Got my little palette set up there. Now I want to talk, before I start actually painting the wreath, I want to talk about the way that you can use your paintbrush to create some of these different leaf shapes. I'm just going to use this little practice piece here. And I've got a variety of sizes. This is the Princeton Snap Brush size 6. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to get some water on it. And if I'm thinking about this as one of the elements for my wreath, I could take, I'm going to take a little bit of this color and make a line or multiple lines using just the tip of the brush. So not pressing down hard, just using the very tip of the brush. Then you're going to take and press with the tip and then push all the way down and then pick back up. And that makes for a really pretty leaf shape. I'm going to try it again, but I want it to be a little darker so that you can see it. So I'm going to mix a little bit of a darker color so that you can see. Let's try it now. So I'm going to start with the tip, press down, and lift back up. Maybe I want another one to come this way. Press down and lift back up. And you could do, if you were just practicing with your watercolor paper and your brush, you could just do a whole row of these, practicing that shape. That's pretty nice. That's going to be a nice element in my wreath. Then let's look at this element. If I take and do a little skinny string again, a little skinny stem with the tip of my paintbrush. If you want it even smaller, you can switch out. This is a number 2. It's a little bitty brush. If you want an even smaller stem, you can switch out to a little skinny brush. And then you can do, instead of going with the tip and then pressing down and picking back up, we're going to do that opposite, where I just lay it down almost like a heart. It's almost like we're making a heart, and I'm just pressing the paintbrush straight down and lifting it up. Let me darken this up again so that you guys can see it. Again, I'm just going to go down and lift, down and lift. Oh, there's a little green on that. That looks pretty cool, where I didn't get it completely mixed in. I love that. Down and lift, down and lift. So that could be a pretty cool element for the wreath. I love that idea. And then let's talk about this one. If I'm going to use my biggest snap brush, this is a 12 round for this biggest leaf. And this is going to be really similar to this first one that we did. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to press down and lift back up, and then maybe come around on this side and connect, and it leaves a little white space here. If it doesn't get as dark as you want it to, you can always come back and paint in this area. One thing that I really love about watercolors is it's not the same every time. So you get these lights and darks with the paint, and it's not always the same every time. Just kind of have to let it flow and see what happens. So those are pretty great. I like that. And I can still use the tip to make a thin little stem. So that's some ideas. So I encourage you to practice your mixing and practice your different shapes with your brush. And then you're going to be ready to start on your wreath. And let's try one together. I went ahead and found this plastic lid. It's just like from a food product. I don't even know what it was from. But I found this plastic lid. This is the right shape. I cut my paper down. And I'm just going to very lightly trace around the lid with my pencil. And that's going to give me just an outline of where I want my wreath to go. Then I'm going to start building the different elements. So I've practiced all these different elements. I've got my colors mix that I want to use. I can always add different colors too, but I've got these elements, got my colors mixed. Now I'm gonna start with my 6, my medium brush. And I'm going to just, let's see, I'm going to take a little bit of this red and green color, and I'm going to start by coming around here on the line and doing that first element that I showed you. So take a little this way and a little this way, and then press down and pick back up. Press down and pick back up. And just create those little leaves right there. And I want to repeat that element maybe on this side. I don't want it to be totally symmetrical, but I do want to repeat this element more than once on my wreath. There we go. Oh, this is looking good. It does make a difference if you have the good brush shape, that good round brush shape. It does make a difference if you're trying to work with a flat brush or, you know, a different size brush. It makes it harder to be successful. So a good brush is important, and also good paper. Okay, that's looking really lovely. Let's pick another element. I think I'm going to try something like this next. And that's just those little hearts. And I might go for something in the, I like this hot pink. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that pink, but I don't want it to be that true pink. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit with this little bit of green, just so it has that more fall jewel tone. And then what did I say? I was going to do this. I was going to do this one, yeah. So again, I'm going to draw that line on there. And this is just dragging the brush or placing the brush on either side of that line. And you can go back and pick up more paint as you need it. That one's so easy. It's just like stamping the brush. I want to put that one over here too. And you have that circle that you drew with the pencil. Of course, things can come off the circle too. It doesn't have to stay right on there. If I want to do an element with little dots, we did not practice this one, but I'll show you that one. That might come off a little bit. So let's try, I don't remember, that was orange maybe. That was this orange with the dark blue. I like that. Just a little touch of that blue on there. And let's see what that does. If I want to have this, maybe it comes off and it has a couple other little branches that branch off from there. And then we'll have another one over here. And then all you have to do on this is just make little dots. Like that's really easy. Sometimes I like to also just include, even if they're not attached, just little dots coming off of there. Very whimsical. Let's do this side too. I like this color. This is that orange with a little bit of that dark blue. It's a nice fall color. Okay, now I still have a little bit of space. Oh, I haven't done the big leaf yet. I need to do that big leaf somewhere. This would be a perfect spot for that. So I'm going to switch to my big brush and let me think about color here. I don't have, I've got a little orange. I could go with this like ochre color and maybe add, let's see what happens if I add a little purple to that ochre. That's pretty. So I'm going to do one here. And maybe like a little mini, I'm out of space, but I could do a little mini one right there with the tip of the brush. That looks nice. And then I could do, and that might become the top. I kind of like, I was thinking this was the top, but now I like that as the top. Now I'm going to do another one here. And that one might come in a little bit. And then another one here. That looks so good. I really like the way that looks. Sometimes I also just take my finest little brush and I add just some little whimsical lines. Just to add, you know, make it feel less static, like there's other things happening on it that's not directly on the circle, not directly on the pencil circle. Oh, look at that, looks really good. Ah, so happy with that. So I'm going to let this dry, and then if you stay tuned for my next episode, although I'm not done painting, I've got another wreath I want to do with you guys, but in my next episode, we're going to add some more to this with marker. So for now, I'm going to put this to the side, and I'll come back to that one. This one I was playing with this weekend. It's a Halloween wreath. I was so tickled with this one. I know it's really important that you you know, find joy in your artwork. So this is really fun. Let's look at this. So I went ahead and drew a circle here. I traced a lid at home, and then I think I'm going to put the pumpkin right here. And I want to put this little trick or treat banner on this side. So I've got my pumpkin there. I'm just laying some of this out so I know where things are going to go. This is going to say trick or treat. I'll do that with marker later, but I want this to kind of be in place there. And then I'm just going to sketch in, you know, what I want that banner to look like. And we'll talk more about how to add to that in a little bit. And then I'm going to put my pumpkin here, and then some of these other elements. I'm going to put my spider web there. Everything else I can do with the paintbrush. Okay, so I've got things a little laid out here. I've got a little trick or treat banner there, and I've got my circle drawn in. I know it's kind of hard to see it, but let's play around with this. So on this one I used more purples and pinks and blacks. I didn't use as much of the jewel tones like I did on the first one that we did together. So I'm going to start with some purple, and I think I might mix a little bit of black with that just to make it not quite so bright. And I'm going to put that in here, and this is going to be really similar to this element right there. I can just do little stamps with my brush. And again, we're just playing around. Nothing has to be perfect or finished. This is just practice. And then I'm going to pull up some of this hot pink. Maybe I'll just put the hot pink right on top of that purple and black and add that down here. This element is going to be here. That's that. I need a little bit more water on my brush. Press down, lift up. Press down, lift up. That's so cute. And then we'll do a couple big, maybe a little more purple in here. I'm just going to keep adding to this pile here. I did purple and black, and then a little, oh, some of the red's getting mixed in there. Let's see what happens. That's kind of fun. I'm going to do a big leaf here. And then maybe another big one over here. That's really cute. Oh, and then this got me super tickled. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I put little eyeballs inside those flowers because it was supposed to be Halloween-y. So let's see. I'm going to get my little small brush. And right here I'm going to do 3 just loose circles that later I will come back with a marker and add the eyeball detail. That's going to be fun. All right, let's talk about this pumpkin. The pumpkins are so fun to paint. And if you look on this one, I painted some pumpkins on here. And the thing that makes these, I feel like, look so successful is that you leave that white gap between the sections. And so if you will, I had another one. This was one I was playing, oh, here's a good one I was playing around with. You can see that little gap between the sections. So we're going to paint our pumpkin right here. And I'm going to use the 6, the number 6 brush for this. And I'm going to take a little bit of this orange, and I want a little bit of that, I think. I might add some yellow too. And I'm going to start right here in the middle. I drew a little circle with a pencil ahead of time, and I'm just going to create this oval right there. And if you want a little highlight in there, you could just touch a little yellow paint in there. Then I'm going to draw, or paint, not draw, I'm painting, from the top of this side down, pressing with my brush again, and that makes the second section, and you leave that gap. That takes a little practice to control that, but just keep practicing, you'll get it. I'm going to add a couple little darker colors at the top and bottom there. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to take this, I'm going to press down and come around. And if I want to, I can add a little bit more darkness to that. And then maybe one more on this side. Leaving that gap in between, and that's going to give you that really nice pumpkin shape. And if you are just practicing, I mean, just cut yourself a piece of paper and just practice, 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 practice. Like say I'm going to paint 10 pumpkins today. And then I like to take one of these other like jewel tony colors that we made before, whatever you still have on your palette, and use that for your stem. Just give yourself a little stem. This is coming along pretty cute. I want to paint kind of a light gray. On here I did a light gray color in this banner. And my students ask me all the time, how do you make gray? Well, there's no gray in this palette, but there is black, and all you need to do is add a lot of water and just a tiny, tiny bit of black, and then keep adding water to spread that out to the value of gray that you want, right? So just black with a lot of water. Really any color, when you're doing watercolor, any color with a lot of water, and you're going to get a lighter shade or a lighter value of what you're looking for. And then also if it gets too dark and you're unhappy with it, you can always take your paper towel and blot it back a little bit. Kind of almost like that with a little bit of paper towel texture in there. And then I'm going to take a little bit more black, and I want this part of my banner to be a little darker. And maybe a little darker at the edges. So practicing with your brush, trying to get control of your brush. These are important things to becoming more fluent in your watercolor skills. And I paint a lot at home. I practice a lot, and I don't love everything I make, and a lot of it is just like sketchbook practice. You can buy watercolor sketchbooks. I recommend practicing often and keeping everything that you make in like a journal or like a binder so you can see your progress, or just take pictures of it if you don't want to keep it all. Just shoot a picture of it and then have a folder of work, because you will start to see progress in your art making if you keep track of it. And if you practice, give yourself 20 minutes a day to practice. Okay, I'm going to let this one dry. Everything on this, everything else I'm going to do on this, I think I'm going to do with marker. So stay tuned for my next episode, because I'm going to do some marker work on this. And then I've got one more little fun fall watercolor thing before I close out here. This one I'm just going to cover completely in a variety of colors. This is just going to be a flat piece of paper. I'm going to cover it and see what happens. And then we're going to play with markers in the next episode with that one too. And what you can do here, I've got all these paints here that I've mixed, and I can take my wet brush. I'm going to use my big brush, and I'm just going to wet my page. You can also wet a sponge and sponge your paper to get it wet. You can use a spray bottle. But if you just wet your whole page, this is going to be that wet on wet technique where you have a wet paper and a wet paintbrush wet paint on wet paper, and it's just going to really bleed together. So let's start and just see what happens with all these colors. It's going to hopefully be kind of like a fall themed wash. This is just a watercolor wash, and we will play with it a little bit more next time with some markers. And this would be a fun thing to do if you just want to practice mixing. You know, you could play around with, you know, what happens if I put yellow and blue together? Well, that makes green. What happens if I put yellow and purple together, right? Let's try it on here. Let's put some yellow on there and then rinse it. And pick up a little bit of this purple, dot it on there, then mix it together and see what kind of colors you come up with. And then after you're done mixing everything up, let it dry and add markers on top of it, make something interesting out of it. That's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna let this one dry. We're gonna let the other two wreaths dry. And in our next episode, I'm gonna play with marker work and a little bit of lettering transfer. Really super easy way to transfer lettering. You may not be great at lettering, but this is going to be a trick for transferring letters. Okay, I'm happy with this. This is going to be great. I like how watery this is. I like how the colors are mixing together. I'm just going to leave it flat, let it dry, and then we're going to play with it. In the next episode, I'm going to add some things to this little fellow that I just did. The marker work makes a big difference, I think. When I'm looking at both of these, this one is definitely looks more complete. This is just with added marker work, and I'm going to show you how to add some words inside here. So join me for my next episode, and I will see you then. Thanks. Bye.